Welcome, friends, it's the Movie Film Podcast. Movie Film Podcast, enjoy the show. Zaki, Sean, and Brian are talking about movies. Movie Film Podcast on the radio.
Welcome to Movie Film. This is episode 69, dude. My name is Zaki Hassan, and joining me, as always, is my good friend Brian Hall.
What's going on?
Happy Monday, Brian.
Happy Monday, Zaki.
Or should I say, may the 4th be with you.
Yes, you could say that today.
Well, this is May 4th.
That's right.
It is Star Wars Day.
Yes, which is funny because I remember that it's not very old, Star Wars Day, right?
No.
Yeah, that's like maybe 3 years old or something like that. But as of today, I mean, everybody and their mother was posting something on Facebook, or even like corporations. NASA like tweeted out like a picture for May the 4th. It's like it's a thing. It's a thing now.
So when did Star Wars Day become a thing?
Probably when Disney bought Lucasfilm.
Really? So this is a relatively recent phenomenon.
Well, from what I understand, I could be wrong, but I thought I read somewhere that it is only like a couple years old. But I think once Disney bought Lucasfilm, I'm sure they were the ones that encouraged companies and whatnot to really embrace it.
To jump on, and it's a thing now where you can go to the Disney store and they have all kinds of weird deals and whatnot. Yeah,
well, or I thought I saw like Grubhub, and apps and things like that. They all had like these, I don't know, whatever things that they tweeted out or put on Instagram, where it was like, for Grubhub, I think it was like a giant taco that looked like an at walker, but they called it an eat walker.
An eat walker. Oh, yeah. Okay, that's nice.
So yeah, I mean, hey, it's the times we're living in. You know what I mean?
It's clever.
Yeah, and then I'll add to that. I just started listening to that Star Wars book you loaned me. What was it? How
Star Wars conquered the universe, I think it is.
Yes, and it's interesting because one chapter they talk about a guy like back in 1996 or 97, and he just wanted to wear a stormtrooper outfit, and sort of to spoil the reveal a little bit, like basically he's the guy that founded the 501st. Or whatever it's called, that infantry or whatever, that's like world renowned and filled with people all over the world who dress up like stormtroopers, and they're like the official, I don't know, whenever you want to hire official troopers, whatever, they come from the 501st.
Official dorks of...
well, whatever you want to call it. But it was just amazing to me that this guy, it was like, so, like, it was hard for me to remember a time when Star Wars was sort of like an embarrassing thing to embrace.
Sure.
You know what I mean? That's the long-winded way of me getting to that. Like, but then today it was like, I mean, everybody was posting stuff about it today. So it's come a long way, and it's kind of interesting. And, we can talk about it later when we talk about Avengers in terms of box office and money. But I just have this feeling, and it's not a unique feeling, but that Star Wars is just going to be explosive.
Sure.
So.
But remember, it's all downhill from here.
How's that?
Well, there's nothing that beats the anticipation, because nothing can match.
Oh, sure.
So this moment, like, cherish the feeling, cherish the joy that it gives you, because it's your hopes will absolutely be dashed very shortly.
Okay, all right.
Count on it.
Just ask Josh Trank.
That's it. Well, and we'll get to all of that in due time. Don't get ahead of yourself now. Now. Yeah, it's obviously been a busy couple of days. Actually, it's funny because last time we talked, I mentioned how somebody had gotten upset because they said I sounded vaguely dildo-ish for having ditched my son's camping trip a day early. And so I want to share the fact that I do take my kid on other overnight trips, and those are just fine. Actually, this past weekend, this is actually kind of cool. I spent the night on an aircraft carrier.
What? Where?
Well, it's an aircraft carrier. It's a docked aircraft carrier museum now. So it's a decommissioned carrier called the Hornet, and like through the Boy Scout thing, they have this whole thing where you go on a tour, you go up and down the ship, and the whole shebang, and it's an actual ship, and then you sleep in the bunks, just like the sailors did, and it's like a whole thing. So So we did that, and these bunks are ridiculously compact. So we had about 30 people packed into a very, very small space, and we're
Yeah.
talking bunks that are like stacked up you know, three high, and it's like three high, three deep, three wide, basically.
Wow.
And what I realized is that as everyone went to sleep, I mean, this is like the scouts and their dads, and many of the dads tend to snore
Okay.
very, very loudly. So I realized and this is one thing I can say about myself. I have many other failings as a person. I do not snore. So I
All
can say
right.
that about myself.
Or so you've been
But
told.
exactly. Well, no, you know what I did one night? I actually recorded myself while I slept, just
Is
to
this the
prove to
truth?
myself that I did.
Huh.
And I don't snore. So I'm very happy. I can
All
say
right.
that. I
Hey.
can say that with assuredness.
Yeah.
But so we're about 10 minutes in, 20 minutes in. It is. I felt like I was in a Three Stooges short. Rember those Three Stooges where they're in the hammocks and it's like,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
like, I'm not joking. That's what it was like.
Okay.
So I reach into my backpack and I happen to have my iPod with me, my old iPod.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I need to put on some white noise or something just to drone this out. So as it happens, I don't have anything on my iPod, which I don't use. I don't really use this iPod anymore. The only thing I had on it was, this is true, our show, like the entire library of our show.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if the audience knows this, but Brian, I generally, once we've finished our episodes, I usually don't go back and listen to them until much, much later.
Sure.
So this is literally the first time that I'm hearing it, and I put it on just so that I have some white noise to go to sleep,
Yeah.
So now the payoff, this is all a very long way of saying, so this is like the first time I'm listening to our old episodes. We're talking like 2-3 years now, and I'm asleep and I'm hearing us do the show.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm in Back to the Future 2.
Okay.
And I've gone back in time and I'm watching perform our show.
Okay. So yeah. All right. And you're having your own like concurrent adventure in real time while tiptoeing through the past.
So this is my experience having listened to this show now. It's like I'm sitting like, and it's funny because we talk about stuff that obviously some of the stuff we talk about, like, facts change. So there's like me saying something, and then I'm like, wait, no, that's not right, and I'm like trying to correct myself in the past.
We're like, there never will be another Star Wars film.
Yeah,
Happy 2010. Yeah, something like that. And you're like, no, like over like on a catwalk as I'm playing Johnny B. Good on the guitar, like, yeah.
So that was my camping experience. It just culminated in me going back in time to our old shows.
Yeah. All right.
But what's new with you? How have you been? Have you had a chance to catch anything, new releases or anything like that?
Yeah, I watched. Which one should I go with first? Let's go with the Kurt Cobain one because I don't think you've seen that one, right?
I have not.
Okay,
I didn't know it existed.
Oh, really? Yeah, Kurt Cobain Montage of Heck is what it's called, and it's by Brett Morgan, who he did another documentary. What was it? I'm pulling up right now. Kid Stays in the Picture. And the Chicago 10. Chicago 10 I've heard good things about. Kid Stays in the Picture is great. And anyone who's like a fan of movies, you've got to see the Kid Stays in the Picture. Or better yet, listen to the audiobook. That is just like a endlessly entertaining listen. It's about Robert Evans, who was like the youngest head of a studio over at Paramount. He tells like great stories. He's a hilarious storyteller. Anyway, so Kurt Cobain Montage of Heck, I should say. I am a huge Nirvana fan. I was 13 when he killed himself. So that was like the perfect age for me to like, this music was really, capturing my imagination, but then it's like this guy dies and he becomes sort of this mythic figure right as I'm a teenager. And it's stuck with me ever since. Like to this day, I still love Nirvana. And so I was really curious what this would be like because his daughter, Frances Bean Cobain, was a producer on it. So you're like, oh, well, it feels like it might have be a little more personal than some of the other, looks at his life. And From what I understand, actually, she didn't have a whole lot to do with the content per se, but she had a lot to do with getting people to go along with it, and that is absolutely noticeable because I mean, you get the usual people like Courtney Love and stuff participating, but you also Kurt Cobain's parents speak in this, and it's kind of no holds barred, like warts and all. You know, they talk about Kurt's childhood, and you know, he grew up to be this really talented guy, but kind of a prickly guy.
Sure.
You know, and frankly, kind of a dick in a lot of ways to people, and it's like you sort of the documentary does a good job of just explaining how he became the man he became. Sure. And it's like, yeah, he didn't always behave in savory ways, but you know, he also was a sensitive sort of person, and you know, it dips a lot into like his journals and into like cassette tapes and things that he had recorded, and it's kind of interesting. You know, I had this thought where it's like, you know, no one knows they're going to grow up to be, you know, world renowned, and then, you know, like I said, like turn into some mythic figure later on. But it's just like, it almost feels like he did know that, because I mean, he wrote down so much stuff that they used in this documentary to really give you an insight into, I don't know, where he came from and who he was. And I highly recommend it if you're a fan, obviously, of Nirvana, but also if you're just were alive during that time. It's just sort of like a glimpse back into like the early 90s, and really, really well done. There's like animation, you know, that they use to portray certain things. Like there's some really sort of personal interviews that he gives where he'll talk about specific events in his life. And one in particular I found the most fascinating of the whole documentary was there's a tape where he was unemployed and he was like living at his girlfriend's apartment while she was working, paying for the both of them. And he's just screwing around on his guitar. And it's the very early, you know, drippings that would become the songs that we all know. And then you hear like, you know, the phone ring or someone knock, and then he stops and gets up and walks away. And they've done it to this animation of, you know, him in a house, like plucking on the guitar. And you're like, oh, that becomes this song. And like, it's pretty fascinating. It's actually over 2 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it's 2 hours, 10 minutes, but it flew by for me. So, yeah, I totally recommend it. Cobain Montage of Heck. It debuts on HBO, or is debuted on HBO, so people can check it out there. But moving on, I also saw Ex Machina, which we can talk about because we have both seen it.
Yeah. So I've been waiting to hear your take on this.
Man, I really like this movie.
Okay, talk to me about it.
So Ex Machina, just for people who maybe missed the previous episode, is basically about a guy who is a programmer or a coder, and he gets invited to this weekend with his boss, who's picture like a really elusive sort of Steve Jobs who lives in this compound in, you know, Iceland or something, and he gets to spend a week with this person. But little does he know the reason he is there is because this billionaire guy has created a robot with AI. And he wants this coder to test it and to see if it actually has a consciousness. And it just unfolds from there. And what I loved about this movie, Zaki, because I did love this movie, was, first of all, I should say the performances. The performances all across the board were really great. Domhnall Gleeson, Oscar Isaac, and I don't know this girl's name, Alicia Vikander. I don't know, the girl who plays the robot. She's amazing. They're all amazing. But what I liked about it was that this whole movie had this nonstop tone. You know what I mean? And the tone kind of shifted. It was always uneasy, but sometimes it was like it was never fun, but it was like a little light. And like, okay, let's go on this like adventure with this guy, and this is like discovery, and we're discovering with this person. But then sometimes there was dread, and sometimes there was mystery, and sometimes there was like horror, and like but it was just really well executed. I mean, between the story and the performances and the direction and the soundtrack, it's like I almost kind of want to talk about spoilers, but I think that would be unfair to do it this early in the episode, because I would recommend that people go check this out. But you seem to like it to a point. Am I right?
Why do you say that?
It seemed like you were like, it was really good, and then I felt, if I remember right, that it didn't come together for you or something at the end.
No, I wouldn't say that. I think overall, no, I don't really have any qualms about it.
Okay.
Yeah, I I found it very refreshing.
Yeah, yeah.
I wouldn't say I'm like over the moon about it, but that's not in any way an indictment of it. Like
I
I think
see.
it's a very, very solid flick that I would absolutely recommend to somebody looking for something different.
Yeah, yeah. Looking to break away from the norm.
But yeah, kind of it's definitely not ordinary.
Right,
Alex Garland is one of these guys who he has a voice that I'm always willing to hear.
right,
You know,
right. So yeah. Anyway, I really enjoyed it. It was a nice. It's a nice little surprise of a movie.
and it's kind of interesting because I mean, both Oscar Isaac and Domhnall Gleeson are gonna blow up in a few months.
Right. Right.
And this is a chance to see them, and Oscar Isaac especially. I think I've said this before. I mean, he's somebody who has been consistently impressing me over the past few years, and the guy's a chameleon,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. He gives a really, like sometimes actors they get to like go into these sort of like juicy roles, and then they just like chew up the scenery, and they're just having a ball, but they're kind of bringing the movie down because they become so distracting that they're having a ball. I felt
Yeah.
like Oscar Isaac did that correctly. Like he
Right.
like inhabited this character and made him kind of nuanced and a little weird and off-putting, but kind of charming and whatever. But it totally worked. Like it was never distracting. It was just captivating.
Yeah.
And I really, yeah, he did a great job.
Well, and I like that the ending makes it leaves you wondering, okay, what happens next?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And that's like the highest compliment I can give a movie is where like
Yeah.
whether it has a million explosions or no explosions at all. If I can't wait to see what happens next and I can't take my eyes off the screen, then you succeeded. And
Right.
and that's how I felt about this movie. Like I just had no clue what was coming next, and you couldn't have taken me away from it.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah,
So thumbs up from you on Ex Machina.
thumbs up.
That's awesome. Um, well, that being said, we have a bunch of headlines to talk about. So we'll dispense with the usual listener letters today, so that we can jump right into that because we have obviously a big spoiler wall portion to get to as well. But before we do that, I got a message last week that I wanted to make sure we addressed. We were talking about the Full House reboot or sequel, I guess, Fuller House, and we were figuring out who's on it, and we're spending far too much time, by the way, talking about the Full House sequel. It's worth pointing out, but we found out that DJ is widowed, and so the question you asked was whether Aladdin was dead, meaning her boyfriend. And I said, yeah, because that was, what was his name, Scott Fuller or something like that, and it was not Scott Fuller. The actor was Scott Winger, and he played Steve Whale, I think. And so essentially, long story short, Aladdin is not dead, Brian.
Yeah, well, not
There's-
the actor. I don't know that I ever thought the actor was dead, but
No,
I
no,
thought maybe
but
that
the
the character.
The character is not dead, so there's still hope
Well, thank God.
for DJ. I know. So this show's about him answering the important questions.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
and DJ and what I forgot his name already, Steve.
Mhm.
And there's the possibility is still out there for them to.
Possibilities are endless.
That's right.
Fuller House.
That should be the tagline. So we do have a bunch of headlines to discuss now, beyond Full House news, which obviously I know people download the show to hear Full House news.
That's my other podcast, actually. Full House News.
Full House news,
Yeah,
hosted by Dave Coulier,
yeah.
a lonely Dave Coulier. Yeah, it's sad. I don't know why Dave Coulier. I feel bad. I shouldn't have. I feel bad picking on Dave Coulier. I feel bad about that. There's a couple new movies coming. I wanted to get your take on this. I think this one sounds pretty interesting. I read about this last week, and it piqued my interest. Do you realize it's now been 30 years since New Coke?
30 years. New Coke is something that I just kind of half remember. I remember it more through the references to it than I do it actually happening.
I made a reference to New Coke in one of my classes a few weeks ago, and my students were like, "There's a New Coke?" And I'm like, no, 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 hold on. Let me explain the story. And then like I spent about 10 minutes explaining this very elaborate, boring story just to get to like why I made that reference. So it was 100% not worth it.
Yeah.
But that's my point. Is it's become this thing that you had to be alive at a specific point in time to even have any awareness of what the reference is.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, new Coke was like basically Coke was like, instead of putting this much sugar in, we'll put this much sugar in, and America collectively lost its mind.
Yeah, well, that was the thing because that's the difference between Coke and Pepsi. Pepsi is like the sweeter one, and
Yeah,
then all of a sudden they made like, you know, and this isn't the thing. Like they didn't put out like, here's Coke and here is this other Coke. You know what I mean? Where you have Coke Zero and Diet Coke and all that. Like they replaced Coke. Like they changed
right.
their flavor. So it was kind of like, why are you doing this?
Right. Well, but and the interesting thing is that initially people were okay with it. People had the exact right reaction, which is, huh, whatever. But then it kind of gradually, like people were like, wait a minute,
Yeah. Is
change
there is
Coke.
is
What's
there a
next?
documentary coming out about it?
Not a documentary. They're actually making a drama about it. That's interesting because Paul Wernick and Rhett Reese, who wrote the upcoming Deadpool movie, but they wrote Zombieland, so they have actually optioned the rights to a book called The Real Coke, The Real Story,
Huh.
uh, which looks at this whole thing, the rise and fall of New Coke, which became Coke 2, etc., and how they brought in Coca-Cola Classic, etc. And I read the pitch for this, and I'm like, I take my money. I want to watch that movie.
Dude, seriously, like I love all these like sort of corporate behind the scenes sort of movies, especially about things that I'm familiar with. I mean, like think of like The Social Network or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
Like something that I use and then seeing the story behind it. It's always kind of fascinating.
Absolutely. So when I heard about this, I was like, I'm totally down for this. You know, it sounds like it could be a really. It seems like an HBO movie, kind of, to be honest.
It does. It
Right?
does.
It seems like something that would be there. Like I can. It's kind of like a recount, you know, or something like that, where you can picture like a Kevin Spacey or one of these guys, like all these kind of well-known actors who are populating this quirky corporate comedy. It would have to be a comedy, almost figure, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Like
I
a
would imagine.
dramedy, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know when they're planning on having that come out, but it's called the Real Coke, and I 100% want to see that movie.
Yeah. Sounds good to me.
But in addition to that, now Coke obviously was not that successful because people like what they like. People when something has been there a certain way, they want to keep it that way. And that got me thinking about TV shows that last a long time. And the reason I started thinking about that was this article that was in Variety. And obviously right now it is pilot season. Brian, you know this because you work in the industry.
Mhm.
And networks are deciding what shows to renew, what shows not to renew. And there's this article: when is the right time to pull the plug on a long-running show?
Okay. Is
And
this
the
because The
reason
Simpsons was just renewed for 2 more seasons?
The Simpsons has been renewed through its 28th season.
Yes, sir.
Now there is no end in sight for The Simpsons because at the very least we're going to get at least 2 more seasons after these 2 more seasons to bring it up to 30.
Yeah. Well, and hey, why not? I mean, if it's still pulling in bank.
But now have you revisited Simpsons at all recently?
No.
Okay, so you have wow. So you've walked out. That's it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, it's sort of like a divorce, and we don't have kids together, so there's really no reason to revisit, the pain. Just,
I mean,
she's got her life, I got mine now. So,
see,
and I wish her the best.
by that logic, I'm like the creepy stalker that's like,
No, well, no, I was just about to say, I'm glad you guys have remained friends. It's nice.
well, I still click through the Facebook profile, and I try not to like pictures that are too far back because that would just be. But like 2 weeks ago, Grey's Anatomy, right? Grey's Anatomy killed off. Sorry, this is a spoiler. Killed off Patrick Dempsey. They killed off Dr. McDreamy.
I don't want to sound like every snarky headline that was probably out there, but like I had no idea that show was still on the air.
Okay, so I was about to say everyone lost their mind, and I was wondering why that show is still on the air. So you just pulled the air out of my tires.
Sorry.
But that's kind of my point, right? That is my point because Grey's Anatomy, when it first of all, I want to say I up until like a week and a half ago had not seen one frame of Grey's Anatomy.
Me neither.
And then when this happened, I decided to pull it up on Hulu just to see how it all went down. But and it's funny because I told my wife, I'm like, hey, did you hear they killed Patrick Dempsey on Grey's Anatomy? She's like, oh, why'd you ruin it for me? And I'm like, you have never once watched. You don't know any. The show's been on for more than 10 years. I think you've lost the right to claim spoiler warning on a show you've never once evinced interest in, right? But that's my point. Is people got really really upset about this.
Sure.
Right, and it gets to the thing like TV has changed so much, right? I mean, it's not
changed TV.
Well, notwithstanding shows like The Simpsons, which is going to its 28th season, and Grey's Anatomy, which, assuming it comes back next year, it'll have been on for 12 years. TV has moved away from the run indefinitely model.
Right.
And it has become more self-contained and more limited. Mad Men is now about to wrap up very soon. So when is the right time to pull the plug on a long-running show, Brian?
When it stops making money.
Okay.
That's just the truth.
So it has to be the money component.
Yeah.
So
anyway, no, I'm just kidding. No, but I will say maybe this is deviating a little bit, but the season finale of The Last Man on Earth was last night. Sure. And man, I really liked that show. And what I liked about it was it got renewed for a second season, but it totally could have been just this little self-contained one season. And it was like, it didn't, have the traditional formula or, components of a regular show. Like you really had no clue where this thing was going every single episode. And then it just happened, to get good ratings. So they're going to do it again. And that feels like the right way to do it. Like they tried something. It was true to itself. You could tell it was never appeasing to any notes that would make it more palatable to other people. It just was what it was. And it happened to get ratings. So they're going to give it another season. Like that just feels like, well, like it earned its keep. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I don't know. I don't even know if that's related to what you're saying, but
no, it is. I mean, but that's my point is that things have changed now because we can view this as a finite resource as opposed to something that just you keep going until you drive it into the ground.
Right.
I mean, Law and Order, the original Law and Order lasted for 20 seasons. Sure. and 20 awesome seasons, by the way. But that is very much not the norm anymore of shows making it into double-digit seasons.
Right.
Dramas. There's more a sense of like, okay, we wrap it up,
Well, do you think, and like I said, I'm not very familiar with Grey's Anatomy, but I mean, if you have a show like Law and Order where it's each episode can kind of exist on its own.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when you start like serialize things like Lost can't last for 12 years.
Right.
Well,
and that's kind of like right now, one of the number one shows on TV is The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
And that's the question I have is like, well, how much can you play this thread out before it stops being, this cultural phenomenon that it is right now?
Sure.
I mean, you don't watch it regularly, but when it's on, when it's back.
Oh yeah.
Because everyone's talking about it. How much longer can that be sustained?
Till it stops making money. Seriously, I mean, I know it sounds like not the fun answer, but that's really the truth. Well,
and there's a spinoff of that show coming out this summer too. So.
Exactly, because it is making money.
Yeah.
So how can you make more money? Why not have two of them?
More zombies.
Yep.
Now you mentioned The Last Man on Earth, and it's worth pointing out that that's obviously created by Lord and Miller, who have become kind of a brand in and of themselves.
Totes.
And this was announced a few weeks ago that Sony. I swear to God, this is like how we were like, hey, Sony's finally gotten their head together when it comes to Spider-Man. Just
Yeah.
team up with Marvel, let them handle it, and we're like, all right, everything's fine. And just when we turn our backs, they announced that they're also going to do a Spider-Man animated movie.
Yeah.
Did you hear about this?
Yes. That's very weird.
Well, and the only first of all, I think it's a cash grab, blood from the stone, et cetera, et cetera. The only point of interest I have is the fact that it's going to be written by Lord and Miller.
Right.
And that makes me, and for those of you who don't know, it's Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, is it?
Yeah, I believe so.
And they wrote and directed the Jump Street movies. They also wrote and directed the Lego movies. So they have a very distinctive brand of comedy, and them being involved in any Spider-Man, be it animated or live action, makes me say, okay, well, I'm curious about that. But why do you think Sony's doing this?
Money. I don't know. Like, it's very weird. It's almost like it's competing against itself.
Yeah.
Especially because they have like screwed up Spider-Man so much. Yeah. You know what I mean? Whether or not they actually have made bad versions is, I don't know, but like that's like the popular go-to for Sony. Like, oh, well, they don't know what to do with Spider-Man. So it's like what they need to do right now is they need to make a Spider-Man that everybody likes. And so why they would do this sort of confusing move where they have to create two Spider-Mans that we like. Like, I don't understand what they're going for, but yeah, we'll see.
Well, and obviously, we were talking about 21 Jump Street. 21 Jump Street is another franchise for Sony, which they're desperate to turn into the center of, say it with me, a Marvel-style universe.
Right.
And I'm sure you heard about this. They're planning a female spin-off of 21 Jump Street. So it's going to be an all-female. I think it's directed by Paul Feig, and it's going to star Melissa McCarthy and Kristen Wiig. Oh, wait, sorry. That's the other Sony all-female spin-off.
Right.
I get so confused. But, this is going to be by the Broad Street?
City.
Broad City, sorry.
Yeah.
Broad City writers, Lucia Aniello and Paul Downs.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one way that they're franchising 21 Jump Street. The other thing, and this is apparently legitimate, the third actual 21 Jump Street movie is going to cross over Men in Black and 21 Jump Street.
Like, there's part of me that thinks that could be really cool. But there's another part of me that can't help but. Do you remember on The Simpsons when those TV executives were trying to come up with a new show? Right. And they're like, people like police, people like cops, police cops. They had this new show where they just like smushed it all together. That's what this feels like. Sony's like, we own Men in Black, we own 21 Jump Street, Men in Black meets 21 Jump Street. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't feel organic at all.
Okay.
Whatever. I mean, is this from Lord and Miller?
They would be involved, yes.
Okay, so this is probably the best version of this that could happen, right?
Well, and what I've heard is that this is meant to be a statement. The way Lord and Miller used 22 Jump Street to critique the notion of sequels. This shared universe movie joining 21 Jump Street and Men in Black would be a way of critiquing these shared universe movies.
Well, see, that sounds kind of funny. That's what I like about them is like, people don't really do spoofs necessarily anymore, but their movies definitely feel like wink, wink, nudge, nudge a little bit without like getting obnoxious about it, and I could see them handling something like this well.
Well, and I think if anything, it could have the benefit of lowered expectations. I mean, just to be clear, barring us seeing any, it just from the outside looking in, this sounds like a terrible, terrible idea.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like a desperate idea.
Yeah,
right. But
I mean, you wonder, like, would they bring in Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones? Would it be like? Would it actually be? You know what I mean?
Well, that's a good point because, I mean, Men in Black isn't an entity unto itself. Like, Men in Black is Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, I mean, yeah, are they a guarantee? I mean, I can't even imagine they would announce it if they didn't have Will Smith.
Right.
So
But Will Smith, I don't know. He's a hard guy to nail down. He doesn't want to do Independence Day anymore.
yeah, I can't decide if he's right on that or not.
That's one of those things. That's going to be one of those things where I need to fall asleep, like 3 years from now and listen to this episode, and then I'll be able to be like, "You were right. It was a dumb idea." So we don't know about that.
Well, it feels like Independence Day 2 would be a lot of fun like 10, 15 years ago.
Okay.
And I'm not saying because people care or don't care about it, but I just mean it feels like Roland Emmerich isn't making the movies. He doesn't. Seems like a little bit of the magic has died down in his output.
I want a shared universe between Independence Day and The Day After Tomorrow, and BC or whatever that movie was.
Yeah, sure. Or well, you gotta and throw something really random in there too, like I don't know.
Universal Soldier.
Yeah, sure. Sounds good. Yeah, and the Smurfs.
It's Smurfs.
Yeah. What else does Sony own?
Take my money. I'm done.
Yeah.
Now, actually, real quickly before we're talking about Independence Day, and that's a Fox property. Another Fox property that blew up somewhat unexpectedly was Kingsman. Now, you and I spent quite a bit of time talking about Kingsman, but what's amazing is that this movie made more than $400 million worldwide.
That's crazy. An action movie starring Colin Firth.
Right. So it's clearly it's the biggest. It's a smash hit.
Yeah.
In his career. And so definitely Fox did a lot right with the marketing. I think this thing came out of nowhere and was able to ride a lot of good reviews, a solid performance. Again, we sang its praises a few months ago, so I won't get into that again. But my question to you is, why do you think this one was able to cross over the way it did?
Man, I don't know. As you were saying this, I was trying to sort of think of it in my head because we both liked it. So I'm saying good things about it, but I feel like I don't know. I haven't really been able to talk about it with a lot of people. You know what I mean? Like for as well as it's done, I don't feel like I know a lot of people that actually saw it. So I don't know how much of that was domestic and how much was worldwide. But I don't know.
This movie cost $80 million to make.
Yeah. Well, and it's gonna be huge on Blu-ray and streaming.
Yeah. So and they've already greenlit a sequel.
Yeah, which makes sense.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of a done deal, but
yeah, and I guess what I meant by that was that the story naturally lends itself to sequels.
But here's my question: do you think they should bring back Colin Firth?
Yes.
See, so because I agree with you, but then it's like, how do you do that and not ruin the emotional heart of the first one? Right?
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, well, yeah. I mean, the kid was great. I don't remember his name, but he was really good. But yeah, I mean, that's the guy you want to see, really.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll figure it out.
The sequel, obviously, it's probably a good situation to have where nobody knows what to expect and they've got a lot of time to figure it out.
Yeah.
Spent a lot of time on this show talking about DC and sort of the Warner Brothers shared universe this is like the shared universe episode, by the way, I'm realizing.
Yeah.
Their DC universe, which feels completely reactive. We talked about before because they're looking at everything that Disney and Marvel are doing. And there was we've spent a lot of time just giving our perceptions, but it's reached a point where the Hollywood Reporter even did a piece on this. I don't know if you saw this.
No.
Where titled Superman versus Batman, DC's real battle is how to create its superhero universe. And essentially it just lays out the many, many problems that DC has been having.
Really?
Just trying to get to the starting gate.
Hollywood Reporter this past week's been really meow. Has it not?
So it's been clickbaity.
Yeah, but I mean, not that they're grasping for things that aren't there and like creating drama like a tabloid or anything. I mean, but it seems like they've got the kind of inside scoop and they're spilling it for everybody.
Yeah, well, I mean, the way they lay it out, I mean, it's essentially there's a whole bunch of people at Warner Brothers / DC who are jockeying for sort of the Kevin Feige position, if you will.
Mhm.
and that's what's caused a lot of friction. I mean, just a few weeks ago, Michelle McLaren had been signed to direct the Wonder Woman movie,
Right.
and then she dropped out, and she was replaced by Patty Jenkins, who had previously. I mean, this is like Dallas now, where it's just so much drama. Patty Jenkins had previously been signed to direct Thor: The Dark World.
Right.
So basically, DC's like, get us a woman, get us that woman. That'll show
Mhm.
them. I pictured the DC people being very catty for I don't know why. And so there's been that, and then they've had like 5 separate screenwriters preparing pitches, not even pitches, like screenplays for Aquaman, and they're going to pick the best one.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Well, and I guess that's what they did for Wonder Woman too, right? Like they
Yeah,
said they picked 5 guys. I guess I did see this. I didn't realize this was the Hollywood Reporter. I saw it somewhere else, but they picked 5 guys to write first acts of a screenplay, and then they were going to pick the one they wanted to go with, which is kind of interesting.
yeah.
Not a terrible. I mean, it doesn't seem as terrible to me as it maybe does to other people, but at the same time, if you are trying to set up some sort of like, multifaceted universe, that does seem a little like, I don't know, this guy. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't really feel like they have a plan.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and that's we've been talking about this for a while from our perspective as relative outsiders, and my point is this: everything that we've perceived seems to be borne out by this piece in their Hollywood Reporter.
Yeah. Yeah.
That there's a general sense of reactiveness as opposed to proactiveness. That their long-term plan is not as fleshed out as it probably needs to be for something that's as elaborate as this.
Mm-hmm. Or is what they're getting ahead of themselves aiming toward. You know what I mean? Maybe they should have thought all this out first.
Well, and when you think about it, like and this is obviously with the benefit of hindsight, right? But when Marvel was in the lead up to the Avengers, the first Avengers, after Iron Man, after Incredible Hulk, if Thor and Captain America, barring like a total disaster, if they had even done okay box office wise, like they ended up being hits, but if they were just like moderate hits or not just okay, like Marvel would still have been okay with the Avengers.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas here, it's like when you think about it, they're putting all their eggs on the Batman versus Superman movie.
Right.
And if that flops or if that disappoints, there's no backup. There's no safety net.
For what they've put all their money down on.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like, okay, well, Captain America didn't do that well. Thor didn't do that well. We can just call this Iron Man and the Avengers, and it'll do fine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You're talking about us making our predictions, and we can revisit them later. Here's my prediction for Batman versus Superman. I think it's going to do really well, but not as well as everyone hopes.
So it'll be well received commercially, but not critically, maybe, or audience wise.
I think people will be split on it. I think it'll be like Man of Steel. I'm sure Man of Steel did not do what they were hoping,
Sure,
but it did.
Sure.
It did well. I mean, you can't say it wasn't a success. Sort of like, or it was Sony and Spider-Man. Where they're like, this. Remember, it was like leaked. They were saying like, well, this will make $1 billion, and like that was like just assumed, and then it didn't, and it made a lot of money, but it wasn't necessarily. I don't think they're necessarily seen as successes. I think it's going to be a lot like that.
It's interesting because I feel like there's a fascinating behind the scenes. Again, like the real Coke,
about this.
Yeah. I want to watch that movie.
Yeah, for sure.
Because and actually, this is completely connected. There's a new film out right now that was kickstarted called "The Death of Superman Lives."
Yeah.
And I'm hearing fantastic things about this. This is a documentary that a fan basically put the funding together for, and he wanted to look into. There was this movie in the late '90s called Superman Lives that was going to be an adaptation of the Death of Superman storyline. and Tim Burton was going to direct it. At one point, Kevin Smith had written a script, and Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage
Right.
almost played Superman. That's the insanity that we lived through in the late 90s. That's
And I mean,
thing
if
that almost
people are
happened.
surprised by this, you just got to Google Nicolas Cage Superman, and you won't even believe it.
Well, whatever you picture in your mind, it looks exactly like that.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. He has his Con Air long hair, and it just looks bizarre.
Like, yeah, it's like whatever you've mentally photoshopped. When I say Nicolas Cage as Superman, that's waiting for you when you do a Google image search.
Right. Right.
But so this is an actual documentary, and I think I don't know if Nicolas Cage has been interviewed, but Kevin Smith. Well, Kevin Smith is not a hard interview to get.
No,
I'm probably guessing, but like Tim Burton talks
that's
about it.
amazing.
I want to
got
hear
him.
what Tim Burton has to say about this.
Yeah. Well, this is just exactly what you just said. I mean, this is like when you hear these stories, and all we can do is speculate and sort of take the little dribs and drabs that the Hollywood Reporter can dig up for us. But like, this is the stuff we want to hear. You know, like
Right.
the things that didn't happen, but almost happened that we can't even imagine. This is so cool. I mean, do you know when this is going to be released?
I have no idea. Oh no, wait, hold on. I just Googled it. The film is coming out July 9th.
Okay, like on
But
VOD or something?
that's what I'm wondering. Let me find out.
Probably. Or it'll be like a super limited kind of thing, and then they'll put it on iTunes or something.
I just love that somebody was like, I want to make a movie about this, and they pulled together the crowdfunding to make that happen. I mean, I just think that's amazing.
Yeah, and then they got the key players to do it. Not the guy who locks up the stage at Warner Brothers who heard something. You know what I mean? They got Tim Burton. That's amazing.
Yeah. So so here we go. It's it's gonna hit a handful of theaters, and then it's gonna go to home video and VOD.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I absolutely want to see this.
Oh, definitely. I'll definitely see that.
So that's The Death of Superman Lives. What happened? And again, the sequel about 2 years from now is going to be The Death of Batman v Superman. Seriously, what happened? I want a whole series. I want The Death of Green Lantern. What happened? You know, I feel like there's a very rich vein that they could mine.
Yeah.
And we're talking about the DC universe. They just released a couple of pictures for, and I will say this: one of these DC movies that I do actually have a certain amount of not necessarily even excitement, but I'm curious about is Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm interested in this, number one, I think it's got an interesting cast. Number two, David Ayer. I'm a fan of him as a director, especially he's good at these ensemble action picks.
Right.
And then I'm a big fan of the comics. I read those growing up. So the big selling point for this is I think Jared Leto playing the Joker.
Right.
And a few weeks ago, they released what's been called the first picture of Jared Leto as the Joker. They released it on the internet, and people collectively lost their marbles.
Did we not talk about this?
We did not talk about it.
Wow, that feels like so long ago.
I know, crazy.
In internet years.
In internet years. So what are your thoughts? I actually have not talked to you about this at all, and being as big a Batman fan as you are, I'm very curious what you thought. And you know, by the way, it's hard. It's one picture that's bereft of context, and
right.
It's hard to judge. But just your sort of immediate response.
Well, I've had a lot of time, like I said, in internet years to process this, but I'm optimistic about it. I wasn't crazy about the picture, for a couple of reasons. The tattoos being one of them.
Yeah.
And him having the word "damaged" tattooed across his forehead.
Yeah. Subtle.
Yeah, it's just that, like, there's just no nice way to put it. That's stupid. Okay.
Yeah.
Whosever idea that was dumb. But what you find out later was that isn't what he's going to look like. It was like some sort of promo thing for the 75th anniversary of Batman. That's going to be like in some book or something like that. So my thought was that was a really stupid idea to put that picture out first. You know what I mean? Because it was kind of incorrect. right? You know what I mean?
Right.
It was like a misrepresentation of what he's going to be like in that movie. So it was like, why would you put out something that you had to know everyone was going to think was stupid?
You're right.
And then it'd be like, well, no, I mean, he's not going to have the tattoos. But anyway, here's your, you know what the internet's like? You crazy?
Right.
Like that was what I took away from it. Like, okay, like that was dumb. You know, but take away all that, you know, other stuff. Like I think he's gonna be fine. And it was another weird. You know, you look at the Suicide Squad picture that was released, and it looked dark, and it kind of matched what the movie's probably going to look like. But you look at that Joker one, and he's under these huge lights. You know that he's never going to be under in the movie. It just everything about it looked wrong. But you strip all that away, and I think he's going to be. I think he seems like a good choice.
You know what's interesting though is my prediction is that the Joker will be the Darth Maul of Suicide Squad.
Ah, right.
Because I'm willing to bet that the amount of screen time that he has will be disproportionate to the amount of hype that he gets.
Totally.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because by all indications, he's not even a part of the team, which, you know, there was a picture released, I think it was yesterday, of the entire cast in costume. And now this picture was just as divisive as the picture of Jared Leto as the Joker.
Yeah, I didn't have as much of an opinion on it. I haven't read these comics, so I don't really know this whole thing. And a lot of the Batman stuff that I've read, never, you know, it didn't go like super deep into like his, you know, rogue gallery and stuff. So like I'm familiar with Killer Croc and stuff, but there was like people in there that I didn't know.
Right.
So I don't know. I got an open mind about it. Like I thought the picture looked in keeping with the like, you know, I hope they don't just go dark and gritty to be dark and gritty and not actually, you know, do it with a purpose or something. But
Right.
I saw some like set photos today, and I thought those actually looked better. Did you see those?
Right.
It was like Harley and Croc. Like Croc looks cool, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, that could look really dumb, and I don't think it does.
Now that's Mr. Echo, right?
Yeah, right. Well, you'd never know it from Lost. Yeah,
Like I'm not going to try to say his real name because it's a lot of consonants.
right.
But that is that guy, and the one and Will Smith looks good as he plays a character called Deadshot, and
right.
He looks fine as Will Smith. But they released a picture of him with a mask on,
Mm-hmm.
and he looks like Space Jason from Jason X. I found that less agreeable.
Right.
And then I was like, oh look, it's Jai Courtney.
Oh yeah, I don't know who he.
That guy, man, I don't know. He just has a very persistent agent. That's my theory.
Yeah, I mean that guy deserves every cent he's getting.
Oh, but Margot Robbie as Harley.
Oh, she looks great. She looks hot. I mean, she looks just right, I think. I mean, really. I mean, she does. I mean, you get the goofy ponytails and all the makeup and all that stuff.
It's good times. But so that's Suicide Squad. We'll see. Our friend Paul Shirey has repeatedly said that a lot of people don't understand how important Suicide Squad is to this whole thing. So I feel like that's the one to watch almost, you know?
Yeah. It kind of is, because I mean they're setting up all the guys that, you know, Batman and I guess the Justice League might be squaring off eventually. So if you don't like them,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Sort of like the end of Spider-Man 2, Amazing Spider-Man 2, when they had Paul Giamatti, you know, yelling a lot and you know, like hamming it up, and I was like,
Spider-Man villain, right? Paul Giamatti.
Yeah, and you're just like, oh Lord, like this is the worst part of the movie, and you're like, oh, that's the next movie, you know? Then it makes me not want to see
more
the
of him
movie.
next time.
Yeah. So it's like if these guys, if you aren't interested in these characters, I mean, that's gonna could potentially screw up what they have planned ahead.
Yeah. Well, and obviously there's a little bit of controversy there, but nothing that won't pass. That being said, with Star Wars, which is scrutinized to such an extent, any even little bit of controversy just by definition becomes big. And there's been some big Star Wars news over the weekend.
Oh, was it you're handing it off to me?
I was attempting to, but clearly
Is this
that's an
the
airball.
pictures?
Well, let's
The
talk
Vanity Fair?
pictures in a bit, but I think
We're talking about the seedy stuff.
the seedy stuff.
Hey,
Star Wars Underworld.
hey kids.
Star Wars
Story?
After Dark.
Yeah. So Josh Trank, he of Chronicle fame and upcoming Fantastic Four.
Possibly infamy.
He was let go from the second Star Wars spin-off.
Well, now according to him, it was a a mutually agreed upon parting of ways, and
which the Hollywood Reporter, or as I'm going to call it this week, Meow. they seem to. I was impressed actually with some of the quotes they got from Fox people.
Yeah,
willing to
basically
call him out.
The bus.
I wouldn't even say throw him under the bus. I mean, maybe, I don't know, but just call him out on his crap.
Well, here's the article that I read, and Brian, I texted you the links to these.
Yeah,
I was like, if Fantastic Four does not blow up, then based on this article, Josh Trank's career as a high-profile director is finished.
Very well could be.
Yeah. So yeah, give us the skinny here.
Well, it sounded. What's interesting about it is Simon Kinberg is tied with both the Marvel films over at Fox and with the Star Wars films.
Yeah.
Right. So he has firsthand experience of how Josh Trank operates and what he's had to, it sounds like, endure on Fantastic Four, which is sort of erratic and maybe petulant behavior. I thought it said somewhere in there like he went missing for a while, like just doesn't show up. And one of the Fox people, I don't remember who it was, but some executive was quoting as saying that Trank may not be equipped to handle, this job as currently. So I think that's a nice way of saying, like, yeah, maybe he makes pretty pictures, but like, this is not a guy you want handling your millions and millions of dollar, investment.
Yeah.
So anyway, and that was, at Star Wars Celebration, apparently he was supposed to speak.
Yeah, that's right.
And,
it was supposed to be like a panel discussion, him and Gareth Edwards.
Right. And then he, canceled, citing he had the flu. But it's probably because they were in the middle of figuring out how to get rid of him.
How to toss him.
Yeah.
Well,
so,
and I somebody I know who would be in a position to know said, don't feel bad for Josh Trank because he was kind of a nightmare and spoiled and got what was coming.
I'll be coy as well, and I have similar avenues and ditto.
So to me, this is
don't cry for Trank.
Well, this is it's funny because I host another podcast called Diffused Congruence, and the title comes from the idea that if you have this person over here saying this and this person over here saying this and a bunch of other people all over saying the same thing, it's all diffused, but it's congruent.
Right.
So we have diffused congruence about Josh Trank. It seems like. Yeah,
and not to get all gossipy and like on him, but whatever. But to me, it sort of makes me mad. You know what I mean? He's 30 years old.
I know.
He got handed the keys to the kingdom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he's going to make a Star Wars film, and not only that, but it's probably going to be good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But, like, him, behaving the way that he behaves and whatnot, like, he just completely blew it.
Wow.
And it's all his fault. So,
Yeah, and it's, I mean, the film that he was on tap to do was going to be a Boba Fett origin story.
Yeah.
And you have to figure that any Star Wars movie centering on Boba Fett was going to do really well.
Sure.
So it's, I mean, this was potentially going to get his work into far larger of an audience than the Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
So to walk away from that just seems odd to me, Do
you think, well, it's a Boba Fett movie, and then moving on a little bit, like, I don't know. Like, I almost wish they could start from scratch, but they're sort of hindered by what's come before.
Well, that's kind of the problem. I was thinking about that. Is that like they need to retcon the baby Boba.
Yeah, like, well, obviously you have to get another actor because that kid's probably grown up now. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Like, I mean, are we gonna really go back to that planet? Was that Geonosis or something like that?
No,
You know,
that was
oh no,
get it
that's that.
straight, Brian.
I don't even
Get
remember.
your Star Wars planets.
I
That
just
was
remember it had those really
Camino.
tall, thin aliens.
Camino.
Camino, yeah.
Why do I know that? There's useful things I don't know because I know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's funny because up until episode 2, Boba Fett was this creature of mystery, and then it's as if I mean it's like George Lucas and God, I don't even want to pick on George Lucas, but seriously, did he think that was the origin of Boba Fett? Anybody was interested in?
Yeah. Well,
And the truth is, I just to be clear, I wasn't interested in any origin of Boba Fett.
sure.
I don't think we needed an origin of Boba Fett, but the idea that we're gonna get it and this is it.
Yeah, it just feels like I am not so sure about the seeds that have been planted for him. But we'll see. I'm sure they'll find ways to make it interesting.
I don't know if I told you this story. Like I saw episode 2. I went to the midnight show of episode 2, 2002. In fact, I went to the AMC back when it was AMC in Cantera.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's first of all midnight show for episode 2 was just not a pleasant experience at all. That's not a movie you should watch at midnight
Okay.
because it's like the middle is just pure torture.
Oh, sure.
But anyway,
Oh, yeah. It's the sand.
What's
It's everywhere.
oh, exactly. The middle is basically nap time.
Right.
Actually, it's a perfect movie to watch at midnight. Now that because you won't miss anything. But so we're watching it, and then the Jango Fett and Boba Fett and blah blah blah. So and near the end, right, we get that silhouette shot of young Boba Fett. He picks up Jango's helmet. You know what I'm talking about? After after Mace Windu cut it off.
Right.
And first of all, I'm like, why doesn't his head like come rolling out? Right.
Right.
But so someone in the row behind me like kind of whispers, and I'm either to a friend or themselves. It's a Star Wars premiere, so it could go either way. And they're like, "So that's why he hates the Jedi." And I'm like, Boba Fett's been in like 3 minutes total of all of these movies.
Right. We don't know that.
What point in any of this did he evince hatred for the Jedi?
Yeah.
So to me, that just points out how like fans have just created this well of stories about this character who has is basically a blank slate.
Right.
It's kind of funny. So
well, when I went to Celebration, hands down, the number one costume there was Boba Fett.
Oh, 100%.
There were a million Boba Fetts.
Yeah, and were they all like different variations?
Yeah, totally.
Like girl Fett and camouflage Boba Fett and all
exactly
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
So are you interested in the Boba Fett movie?
Sure. I mean, I'm at this point, I am completely optimistic about all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, Disney's kind of doing the same thing. They're putting all their balls into episode 7.
Yeah, but it seems it's working so far.
I mean, they're probably well positioned, but I mean, if episode 7 is just a giant catastrophe, they have some obviously serious problems.
Yeah.
Now, I think a good sign is that J.J. Abrams has sort of recognized that, the responsibility he has. And I feel like, there's this new article in Vanity Fair today that kind of gives us a few teases. We get a few hints about new characters, etc. But we also find out about what happened maybe to some of the old characters that were not beloved.
Sorry, I'm not. Which one?
Well, like Jar Jar.
Oh yeah, sorry. I actually fixated on another part of this article, so that's where my head was at.
Okay,
but
I thought
yes.
I'm off my game today.
No. I'm
shooting air balls, Brian.
No. Well, he was saying that he was toying with the idea of in the desert somewhere, like digitally adding Jar Jar's bones in the background, just as a little Easter egg for people who would notice it.
Applause moment.
Yeah, but it's funny because now everyone, I'm sure, is going to be scouring for it in the screen. I wonder how that makes Lucas feel.
I think it'd be funny if Lucas put it in his contract, like you you cannot kill Jar Jar. Like,
Right.
you cannot release the original trilogy unedited, and you cannot kill Jar Jar.
Yeah.
Just to mess with people. But yeah, so tell us about some of the other tidbits in this article, because this literally just dropped today because it is May 4th.
Yes, and this isn't even all of it. I think digitally this issue comes out this Thursday, the 7th, I want to say, and then the hard copy comes out next week sometime, which I will definitely be picking up. I remember picking these up for the previous Star Wars, too. It was really exciting. But anyway, the thing that really got me excited, because this was something I was a little worried about, was J.J. Abrams talks about working with Harrison Ford.
Okay.
And I'm just going to read this because who cares what I have to say about this. Abrams himself, speaking of Harrison Ford, was surprised by the performance and said that Ford, quote, was excited to get back in those shoes again, which was really interesting because I thought he hadn't been a fan. Which is interesting because, yeah, you and I, if you had asked us years ago, we would have said there's no way Harrison Ford would come back to a Star Wars film because he seems to like loathe them, you know?
Right.
So it's interesting to hear Abrams even say that out loud. And then he goes on to say, I kept hearing those rumors when I was a kid. Abrams did have one specific note for the veteran actor, and then, quote, I knew that he had done in some movies a kind of more growly thing, and I didn't want Han to be growly. It says, whatever Abrams said must have worked because, as the director put it himself, there was a fire in his eyes that you see in the movie. So I was worried about that. Like, Harrison Ford's gotten a lot more mumbly. Yeah. And growly. And it's funny that Abrams just goes out and says it. You know, like, he probably said to him, like, hey, stop, act, you know?
Well, and that's kind of interesting because I think I don't have any insight into this, but I would think that if you're an actor, you want that from your director.
Sure.
You know, and not all actors necessarily, but I mean, J.J. Abrams does not by any means strike me as a taskmaster. I think he is very much an actor's director.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, you want that, and you know, he talked plenty of times about what it was like collaborating with Leonard Nimoy and how Leonard Nimoy appreciated him actually guiding his performance.
Right.
And when you think about it, giving Leonard Nimoy direction is just as sort of off-putting, I would think, as it would be giving Harrison Ford direction, as far as both of them playing these characters, because who knows these characters better than them?
Exactly. Right.
And yet being able to say, well, this is what we're looking for, this is not working, whatever. You know, I mean, I think that bespeaks sort of the confidence that J.J. Abrams has with himself and with his craft, you know?
Yeah, and it just makes me excited because, like I said, I rewatched Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi lately, and you see Harrison Ford as Han Solo, and his voice and everything just has much more life in it than anything you've seen him do in his later age. You know, and like I love Harrison Ford. Like
you know what I will say though is you can tell the difference in his performance between Empire and Jedi.
Sure.
In the sense that you can tell that he had fun collaborating with Irvin Kershner, and he was, I mean, I don't know what his working relationship with Richard Marquand was like, but he clearly was not having a great time on Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? He didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
Apparently. But yeah, anyway, so I'm looking forward to not just seeing like old Harrison Ford in Han's clothes. Like I'm looking forward now, hopefully, to seeing Han Solo again.
Yeah. Totally agree.
Yeah.
Now, that's our Star Wars news for this episode, and that's as good a place as any to segue into the big conversation piece for this episode. This is the summer season has started, and so we get to do the spoiler wall. But before we do that, let's talk about the Avengers: Age of Ultron. This opened to $191 million. The second biggest opening weekend of all time. Now, the interesting thing, by the way, is that it was projected to actually beat the opening record of the Avengers, the first Avengers from 2012. It was projected to do something in the neighborhood of $240 million. But apparently, this is true. The Pacquiao-Mayweather fight on Saturday night actually dinged the box office to the tune of about $50 million.
$50 million?
Yeah.
Wow. I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, because again, the projection was about $240 million, and give or take, it ended up right around 50 million that they were off by.
Wow, that's
Now-
fascinating.
Now, shed no tears for Disney and Marvel because they
No.
still have the number 2 opening weekend in history. By the way, the top opening weekends in history: Avengers, Avengers 2, Iron Man 3.
Wow.
So yeah, again, this is by no means a Pyrrhic victory or anything like that, or an outright loss. This is a win, whichever way you slice it. Huge amount of anticipation for Avengers: Age of Ultron. I don't really feel the need to do like our non-spoiler take. I would rather just dive right in and we can sort of talk as we go.
Well, you seem to really hate talking about these things before going to the spoiler wall. So I'll just follow your lead. Let's do it.
All right. So from here on in, we are going to be spoiling the crap out of Age of Ultron. So if you haven't seen it and you still want to, then hold off. Now, Brian, you've read my review, I'm assuming.
No. You know what? When we went and saw it, everyone had read it but me.
Oh, really?
That's true. I actually haven't read it.
Oh, well, okay. So
I missed it whenever you posted it.
So you have no idea what I thought of Age of Ultron?
No, I really don't.
Wow. Okay, well, I want to hear what you thought of it.
Okay.
And folks, as you know, this is our thing. We don't talk about this stuff beforehand. When we watch a movie,
Yeah.
we're going to talk about it on the show. We're radio silence because we let the realness happen.
Yeah.
Because you never know. We might come to blows. We might swear at each other.
Huh?
It's real, folks. This is real. This is
About
real
to
life.
get real.
Yeah. So
Stop being polite.
So
Sorry.
now, Brian, you're a fan of the Marvel universe, the cinematic universe.
Yeah.
You liked Avengers. I think
Mhm.
Winter Soldier is probably your favorite of these movies.
Yeah. That I'd say my top ish
Mhm.
are probably Winter Soldier, Guardians of the Galaxy, and First Avengers.
Okay. So that's
That's where Brian's coming from.
that's where Brian's coming from. So Age of Ultron. What were your thoughts on it? What did you think?
I enjoyed this movie a lot more than I expected to because the trailers were not doing it for me. It looked something just did not look as well formed as the first one or something. Like it just looked really tinny. This is funny, and I bring this up a lot. But with my dad, I'm fascinated by how much my dad likes the Marvel movies because he is your average Joe, and like he was like, before I saw it, he goes, it looks okay because he really likes the first one. He's like, but it looks really tinny, like kind of cheap.
Right.
And he's like, it looks like TV, and I was like, it does. It's amazing that he noticed that, and that's kind of what I was afraid of. Like I was afraid it was just gonna not feel dynamic or special. It was just gonna be this thing that was handed to me, and I was expected to cheer for it.
Sure.
So I was pleasantly surprised that I really did enjoy it. I thought it looked way better than any of the trailers had led me to believe. In terms of like visuals and things like that, I thought the special effects in this movie were really, really good. Actually, I saw it in 3D, which kind of shoves it in your face, and you can scrutinize it a little bit easier. But I thought all the visuals held up for me in this movie. But in terms of the story, it's not the greatest story ever, and I think why I would still lean toward the first Avengers is because inevitably, when you're forming the team, there's a lot of, fun and freshness and getting everyone together for the first time and then them not gelling and then they do gel and then you're happy for them and whatnot. So we're past that now. And so really what this movie needs to have is a really compelling force, a driving force for them, for them to react to. And Ultron, I feel like, was a really cool concept, but not executed as well as he could have been. I think, having this robot develop a consciousness and then decide that it makes more sense to him to wipe out humanity totally makes sense. But he goes from like 0 to 60 in his first appearance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I felt like that's not necessarily what's his name? Whedon's fault. I think that is this movie is just so damn stuffed.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate because there is a really good movie in here, and instead we got like a pretty good movie.
Okay. So I think we're on the same page here. I came out of this movie by no means disappointed.
Yeah,
I absolutely had a good time. I would absolutely watch it again. But I thought the first one was without a doubt a better film.
yeah,
And to your point, I said this in my review. Uh, Marvel Studios has a villain problem,
yes, yes,
and that to me, that's indicated by the fact that you have somebody like James Spader who you waste. It feels like, because Ultron to me was not a particularly compelling villain. He was a slightly snarkier version of Tony Stark,
right.
already pretty snarky. Who by the way crossed the line a few times to like outright douchebag in this movie. Like I was reaching the limits of my tolerance for Tony Stark, and I think part of that is by design because they're trying to make him seem unpleasant
Sure.
for the next one.
Right.
I think for me, I was on board for most of it, with the exception of the climax, which I completely lost interest in.
You know what though? I really ditto. But I was impressed that we talk about every movie now feels like they have to put the world at stake at the end, and you
Yeah.
just can't wrap your head around that. Like you can't get invested in that. It's too big.
Yeah,
And so what this movie I thought did wisely was we're behind the spoiler wall here. So, they literally rip a city off the ground, and they're going to smash it back into the earth like a meteor and destroy the earth. So, okay, great. We get our whole world is going to end thing because we have to, apparently. But they also did sort of contain it a little bit more, where it's just about this city, and it's like, okay, we've got to get these people off this thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, to me, that made it a little bit more reined in and specific. But I think the problem for me was their obstacles were an unlimited amount of robots.
yeah.
Like, how many are there? Like, what are their weaknesses? Like, are they, you know what I mean? Like, they're basically just the Avengers swatting flies for
Well,
like 20 minutes.
and the problem is that this is now two movies in a row that ended with the Avengers facing off against hordes of anonymous, aliens / robots.
Right. That, again, they just swat at.
Yeah,
Like, they
and
don't seem to ever really be in any peril.
right. Well, that's exactly. They're like the toothpick droids in the prequels.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the problem is beyond that. At the very Avengers, at the center of it all, you had Loki, who was a compelling villain. You understand his motivations.
Yep.
He's interesting. With Ultron, he was just Ultron, and we defeat all the other robots, and then we defeat this robot.
Yeah.
And I this is a problem to me, because I was like, give us something different. Give us, have the final battle be a mind game between Tony Stark and Ultron, or something.
Right.
Something that what we were missing was two things, right? Because Ultron is created by Tony Stark's hubris, and we never get that redemptive moment where he makes up for that.
Sure.
Right? Instead, it's the same old, right? So
Right.
he's defeated too easily.
Yeah.
And to me, this is the problem with a movie like this in general. You need a villain that is scary or whatever, but he or she has to still be easily defeated.
Mm-hmm.
So so that the heroes don't look weak. And I think I would have liked more of a sense of stakes. I was actually thinking about this. I really liked how we saw the heroes taking time to save civilians,
Yes.
because
Same.
if you notice, Superman didn't spend very much time doing that
Right.
last year or 2 years ago. However, I would have liked to see them fail.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I would have
Yeah.
liked to see them not be able to catch everybody. And and maybe that's just a bridge too far, because this is a Disney movie and we can't go down that road,
But the people die.
Sure.
Like, there people died, and so
But it's antiseptic. I would have liked to see agree.
No, I mean, to your point, I'm actually in your corner when I say that. Like, I don't mean, I'm saying that Disney did let people die in this movie, but
Sure,
like,
sure.
to your point, they could have made a bigger dramatic deal out of it.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with that. And then speaking of that, Quicksilver,
Sure.
his death. I'm gonna put Aaron Taylor Johnson in the Jai Courtney's of the acting spectrum. Most people that I saw it with did not mind him. I kept thinking, and I've said this before, you watch a movie and you get someone like Sam Worthington or Jai Courtney or Aaron Taylor Johnson, in my opinion, and you're like, okay,
Sure.
but like if you get a guy who's dynamic, and I mean, I can't think off the top of my head, but like just say like Robert Downey Jr., like how much he adds to Tony Stark instead of just having like, George Clooney playing Tony Stark or what, like they add something because they have this thing they exude. And I feel like Aaron Taylor Johnson doesn't exude anything.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking like that character could have been 10 times more interesting.
Well, he was 10 times more interesting last summer.
Yes. And
So
and
he
I just
appeared in the X-Men Days of Future Past, same character, different actor.
But him and his sister, I felt like Elizabeth Olsen wasn't necessarily interesting either, but I don't feel like it was her fault. I think it was her role to play this sort of spaced out weird person, and that's fine. But
Well,
like,
and her, my issue with her is, what the hell is her power?
yeah, it was never really, well, they do write it off with like, she's weird.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
But no, I just, I really get with my brother and stuff. We always say this, like whenever there's like sibling stuff in movies,
Mhm.
like we get irrationally emotional about it. And like, when siblings die or whatever, like it really affects us.
Uh-huh.
And so when he had his moment, I did gasp because it was surprising and I couldn't believe they did it, even though I'm watching a Joss Whedon movie. Of course he did it.
Yeah.
But I just felt like, man, you could have gotten 10 times more out of that moment
Yeah.
than what you did. A, because of him, and B, because I felt like you needed a little bit more out of the two of them together. But that would be my. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, I was going to say, I don't know what the opposite of a heel turn is, but we needed more explanation for their anti-heel turn, or whatever that would be, when they went from bad guy to good guy.
Yeah, but that complaint as well, I mean, could apply to a lot of things. Like, I mean, you have Hulk, and Scarlett Johansson's character. What am I saying? I keep thinking Scarlet Witch, and I know that's the wrong one. Black Widow.
Yeah,
and she, their whole like romantic subplot. I was like, I could get on board with this.
Yeah,
but you didn't take the time. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it just kind of came out of nowhere, and I was like, you just needed one little thing to ease me into it instead of just shoving it at me. But like I don't know that that's necessarily Joss Whedon's fault. I think it sounds like he pretty much wanted to die when this was over because this has just been the most difficult thing he's ever done in his life.
And did it not feel like he was I could feel his fatigue.
Yes,
watching
all his interviews and the movie.
Watching the movie.
Oh, for sure, because there were so many mandates about what had to happen in this movie, and he had to tell the story he was trying to tell. And I felt like, whereas I didn't feel that so much in the first Avengers, probably because everything was leading to that film, this movie sadly sort of feels like a stepping stone.
It does. It's got a little bit of Iron Man 2 syndrome.
Yeah, like this should feel like the penultimate. We've all been leading to this.
Yeah.
And like, don't worry about all this.
Should not be should not be the stepping stone. It should be the culmination.
Yeah, so take out all the other little threads that don't matter and just spend all the time we need, with the Black Widow Hulk stuff, with the Quicksilver Scarlet Witch stuff. Like they did try to do that in the middle where they went to Hawkeye's secret life, which I enjoyed. And actually, I liked. I enjoyed that. And I felt like there was like a weirdness to it though, in a way where it felt like, as much as I liked it, it did feel like the movie just kind of stopped for a little bit to become this other thing and then kicked back into something else. And I felt like if you could have those moments peppered throughout the movie, that it might have felt a little more.
Well, you know what it is. So this is my perspective. I and I don't know how it played for like a lay person, but certainly for me, and I would assume for you, it felt very obviously like they were setting us up to think Hawkeye was going to die.
Sure.
And I was in a perspective where I was like, you're being so obvious about it. There's no way Hawkeye's actually going to die.
Oh, funny.
You know, I was like, Joss Whedon is not this, ham-handed about it. Like, oh, it's my wife, and come back alive, and oh, I'm pregnant, and hey, I'm gonna be like. He's like in the action sequence. He's like, I'm thinking about upholstering the tiles or whatever. You're like, okay, it's very obviously meant to be like, oh, is Hawkeye gonna die? But they're being so obvious about it. You're like, well, obviously it's not gonna be Hawkeye.
Right, sure.
But I'm actually curious if other people picked up on it being very obvious, or if that's just me overthinking it.
It's funny. I didn't think about it as much, and I was thinking about it for other stupid outside reasons.
Mhm.
I was thinking because we know he's been given short shrift, in this sort of universe, and he's probably never going to get his own movie. So I thought they were being nice and giving him a moment.
Sure.
That's kind of how I was looking at it.
But I really enjoyed what they did with his character because we for the first time, because he's been in 3 movies now, because he was also in Thor briefly. We get a sense of his personality and a sense of humor, and
Yeah. Now
I appreciate it.
Yeah. Oh, he was pretty funny though in like the last battle, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and so I mean, let's talk about this as a part of the universe. I have to say, I mean, granted, everything you're saying about like it is distracting and whatnot, but I also appreciated how it pulled in pieces. I liked how we got, oh, and here's Don Cheadle as Rhodey, and oh, there's Anthony Mackie as Falcon, and the idea of the universe beyond this film.
Yes, yeah, and I'll say this because I mean we're talking about the movie, so I'm bringing up all the things that either irked me or I'm like, oh, I wish they had done a little more like this or a little more like that, or because of course, like every movie is going to make you feel that, and this movie did make me feel those things. But at the same time, I don't look at these movies the same way that maybe I look at like the Dark Knight series.
Why not?
Well, what I want to say is because with the Dark Knight series, those are a little more grounded, and so when characters behave a certain way or if something isn't set up well enough, it doesn't feel truthful.
Mm-hmm.
But these movies are fluffier.
Sure.
And so I'm not scrutinizing these movies or picking apart like the emotions of these characters the next day after I watch it, like I necessarily did with Nolan's Batman movie.
Sure.
So that said, I wanted to go watch the Avengers kick some ass, and I got that. You know what I mean? And I enjoyed it, and I thought the action was good. I thought the quips were fun, and it made me laugh. And so there are things that I wish they had done differently, but it is a machine. And that is kind of a critique, honestly, when I say that.
Yeah.
The Marvel thing now, unfortunately, feels more like churning stuff out.
Yeah.
But, and I think, it hurts the movies a little bit. But for 2.5 hours of fun, this movie, to me, delivered.
Yeah. And actually, I want to take a moment to mention Paul Bettany as the Vision.
Oh, yeah.
I loved him. I thought probably the most pleasant surprise in the film was just how much I enjoyed Paul Bettany as his character. Who, I've known the Vision in the comics since I was a kid, but he it was just this perfect union of actor and character, which Marvel tends to be good at in general.
Mm-hmm.
But they've done it again, And he got the best line in the movie. He says, "Well, I was born yesterday."
Yes. And you know what? That reminds me, because we're pointing out, it's easier to point out the things that you didn't like, but you also have to like really give props to Whedon for, it's a good script in a lot of ways, because, the way they set up the whole lifting the hammer thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they show it first as like a party trick and everyone's kind of drunk and trying to see if they can lift the hammer. And that's, I mean, you get a lot of character moments out of that. You also are reminded that not everyone can do it. Captain America comes close, but like no one else can do it.
I love that, just that little look on Thor's face.
Yeah.
when Cap just slightly moves the hammer.
Yeah, exactly. But like that led to that moment at the end where Vision lifts it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so you're like, oh, You know, because it's been reminded, the seed has been planted for you. And like, so there were a lot of like really great moments like that, you know, from a screenwriting standpoint where, you know, I don't know.
Yeah.
It wasn't, there are things that you wish had happened, but you got to also acknowledge all the things that got handled properly.
The things that worked. And yeah, I mean, obviously, Whedon, you know, yeah, he had to juggle all these balls, but he juggles all these balls.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
And that's no easy task. I mean, I can see why he wants to take a nice long break because I mean, I can only imagine 6 years of his life doing this. But there's no doubt that I think, if anything, it's interesting because the mere fact that we're talking about an Avengers movie, and I think it says something about how effective the first movie was as just making it seem like the most normal thing in the world, that we're able to sit here and kind of like be nitpicky.
Right.
Because it's a freaking Avengers movie.
Right.
Freaking nuts. I remember going to see the first Avengers. I went to the midnight show. This is before I started going to the press screenings. It was a midnight show. Theater was packed, and I have no firsthand experience, but I have to imagine that's what it was like when people would go to the adult movie theater. Because it was just this room packed full of fanboys who were desperate to jerk off to this movie.
Okay.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
So, and you know, now it's normalized.
Yes. Yeah. That what the porn theaters?
Well, porn theaters not normalized. They're gone now. That's a weird thing too, by the way. Anything about it? That's a thing people used to do. They used to go. It was a communal experience.
I guess
that's a weird thing. That's like a black mark on our history. You know. We had like segregated schools and
oh my gosh,
adult
Zaki,
movie theaters.
No.
It's terrible, but it is midnight. I just want to point out.
Yeah.
Recording. But any other thoughts on Age of Ultron as we wrap up? And by the way, I mean it's like, okay, this one is done, and we're already now jumping a year ahead to Captain America: Civil War. Like that's, you know, the ball keeps moving forward is my point.
Yeah, I just want to make sure, as they're going to now, you just keep making movie after movie, you just want to make sure that each one feels consequential.
So, okay, where we're at the end of this one is Tony Stark has taken a leave of absence.
Mm-hmm.
Hulk is off in parts unknown. Thor is off to his sequel, right? So they've done a very clever, in a clever way. They've cleared the decks of Thor and Hulk, which I think is very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Because those are obviously the two big powerhouses, right? And if you're doing a civil war, either of those two would stack the deck for either side, right?
Sure.
So we have now, at the end of this movie, we have the quote unquote new Avengers, and that's we got the Vision, Scarlet Witch, War Machine, and Falcon,
mm-hmm.
plus Cap and Black Widow. Hawkeye, I guess. I mean, I don't think he's left, but so if you look at the team, it's a very grounded team. There's no like mega powerhouses.
Right.
And so, couple points. Number one, I think that allows for Civil War to potentially have the same kind of relatively more grounded tone that Captain America: The Winter Soldier does.
Right.
And I think that's part of the reason Winter Soldier was so effective. I've said this before, like the climax of these movies, at some point when it's just CGI overload, I'm out, man.
Yeah.
I can't handle it, you know? And I look at like Winter Soldier, what did it all come down to? It came down to Cap and Bucky just going at it.
Yeah.
And that's so much more compelling to me. You know, and I mentioned this in my review, Daredevil, which is fantastic if you haven't finished it. It all culminates in just a fist fight between these two guys. And, you know, there's the weight of emotion and the weight of all this buildup and stuff that gives it its heft. And, you know, I think part of it is because obviously, you know, we watch enough of these that we do start, you know, there is a sameness that starts to kick in. So I hope that by virtue of Captain America 3 being, in essence, kind of Avengers 2.5. I hope they take advantage of it not being an Avengers movie to dial it back a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'm also, by the way, in 2 months we got Ant-Man coming out. I don't know about you, but I'm looking forward to Ant-Man as kind of a palate cleanser.
I feel like I haven't been moved a whole lot by what's been given to me so far.
Yeah.
But like, given what a surprise Guardians of the Galaxy was, I'm sort of hoping this one will be sort of like that. This looks, a little more fun in tone and whatnot. And I'm just hoping that it will deliver on what, its potential, I guess. And not just because the trailer really doesn't do a whole lot.
Did you see the second one? The second trailer?
Yes. Yeah.
And so you're still you're not turned off, but you're not turned on.
Exactly.
Okay. So then for you, it won't be like sitting in an adult movie theater when you watch it.
No.
Now here's the thought that I had. I wonder if Marvel may have outsmarted themselves by last fall doing the big, here's our 5-year plan. Like, I wonder if it would have been smart to wait till like a month from now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, just go like a step at a time instead of like finish your step first and then.
Yeah. So in other words, because in essence, it's almost, we can't invest too much in the stakes of Avengers 2 because we already know that X, Y, and Z sort of has to happen for Captain America 3. Right. Like and just by virtue of saying Captain America Civil War, well, if you know anything about the comics or if you're near the Google, you can find out what the broad strokes of that story are, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if you just say Captain America 3, well, that doesn't give you anything beyond the title.
Right.
And then like a month from now, you're like, here's what it's going to be. It's going to be Civil War. And you're like, oh my God. And then, you let Avengers 2 still be its thing.
Yeah, and that keeps everyone on their toes.
Yeah.
Sort of a bated breath thing. Like, Captain America's coming, but like the closer it gets, they're going to tell you what it's going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just a thought. I wonder. I mean, obviously, we're not ones to tell Marvel / Disney anything because they're doing fine without our advice. Sure. They don't listen to us anymore. But regardless, again, if it sounds like we're being critical, it's only because,
only because we care.
Because we care. And the truth is, again, I'm a fan of the film. I'm absolutely looking forward to watching it. I know my kids are very much looking forward to seeing it. So I'm actually, I'll probably be catching it again this weekend, I would expect.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I'll have a different point of view next time.
Yeah.
But that brings us right up to the edge of our time, Brian.
Hey.
And whenever we run out of time, that means I get to ask you literally the most important question in history, which is, where can people find you online?
People can find me online at everythingbrian.blogspot.com. That's Brian with an I. I'm also on Twitter at everythingbrian.
And how often do you tweet, Brian?
Seldom to never.
Seldom to never. I'm just curious. Let's see. Your Twitter tally is up to... Bozo Pewter says...
Bozo Pewter.
7. Remember the Bozo Pewter?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Andy, Cookie, the whole gang.
So I had a friend who had a chance to... He met Joey Doria, who played Bozo. And the guy who played Rusty was the guy who replaced Cookie.
Oh, I'm not familiar with Rusty.
Yeah, well, Cookie died, right?
Yeah.
And so after Cookie came this guy. And
do people know what we're talking about? We're talking about the Bozo Show. From
this is a Bozo Show. Yeah, good point. The Bozo Show. Sorry, Brian and I tend to just have our own conversations.
Forget we're doing a show. We just talking.
So the Bozo Show was a Chicago produced show that aired on WGN in Chicago for 30, 40 years. I mean, it was a long time. Up through the late 90s it was on. So he saw Joey Doria, who played Bozo, and I can't remember the guy who played Rusty, but he's telling me, he's like, I swear to God, they are Krusty the Clown and Sideshow Bob.
Really?
and I can totally picture that. And that's hilarious.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
But
Brian is up to 7 tweets.
Hey.
We're in a holding pattern, waiting for his next exciting tweet. There will be a blue-colored smoke that we send up when his next tweet launches. So, and as for our show, you can find it at moviefilmpodcast.com and also on our Facebook page, facebook.com/moviefilmpodcast. As for me, you can find me at my website, zakiscorner.com. That's ZAKIS Corner, and also at the Huffington Post, where my movie reviews go up regularly, especially now that summer has started, as does this show. You can also find me on Twitter at Zaki's Corner, where I do tweet fairly often, and some of it is occasionally pretty good. So there. Make sure you hit up iTunes and Stitcher Radio. Leave us a star rating, write us a review. Let us know how we're doing. In 2 weeks, we'll be back to talk about Mad Max Fury Road as summer movie season continues on the Movie Film Podcast. On behalf of my colleague Brian Hall, my name is Zaki Hassan. This is the Movie Film Podcast. Catch you next time.
All right.
Welcome, friends, it's the Movie Film Podcast. Movie Film Podcast, enjoy the show. Zaki, Sean, and Ryan are talking about movies. Movie Film Podcast on the radio.
If you guys are really us, what number are we thinking of? 69, dudes!